Victorious FM, brought to you by Victorious Entrepreneurs. Here's your host, single mum, entrepreneur and brain injury survivor, Michelle Williams.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Victorious FM, where every week I'll be introducing you to inspiring women who have gone after their dreams and refuse to give up even in the face of extreme adversity. We'll be diving into her victories and her defeats and discovering the lessons that she's learnt along the way, all with the aim of inspiring you to step into your own unique power to create a business and life that you love. Today I was delighted to invite Caroline Maynard onto the show. Caroline is a lifestyle and wellness coach who took the leap of faith to follow her passion and start her own wellness coaching business after being fired from her corporate job on her 54th birthday. Caroline's business is inspired by her own life experiences of marriage breakdown, corporate burnout, depression and chronic sleep disorders. And during this episode, we discuss the signals of burnout and the steps that we can all take to create the right balance of health and wealth in our lives. Caroline shares so many pearls of wisdom in this interview about mindfulness and its impact on our well-being, productivity, health and wealth. There are so many lessons here for us all, so I hope that you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Hello, and I'm so delighted to welcome you back to another episode of Victorious FM, where I'm so excited to invite Caroline Maynard onto the show. Hello, Caroline, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Michelle, and thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, well, I'm so pleased that you could join us because, as you know, the theme of Victorious FM is all about celebrating women's triumph over adversity. And I'm really interested in digging deep and exploring what it takes to go from victim to victorious entrepreneur. Because I know during my 18 years in business that so many women have started in business on the back of adversity that they've been through. So I wonder if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about your victorious story and sort of some of the adversity that you've been through that's actually taken you onto the entrepreneurial path that you're now on today.
Absolutely, I'd be delighted to share with you, Michelle. So let me just start with the most recent. So I'm going to turn 55 in August this year, and I was kind of what I would describe as put on the professional scrap heap last year, having been made redundant after 25 plus years in corporate America. I went through a very, very tough time building my career as a single mom, and only to be made redundant literally on my 54th birthday.
Wow.
So I really had to dig deep and into all my resolve and all my sort of figure out my skill set and what would motivate me to take that next step forward. And I really had to embark on the journey of self-discovery. What it is I like to do, what it is I'm good at, and what it is I want to do going forward. And ultimately with the objective of, helping other people like I needed help, and I had to dig very, very deep into my own reserves.
And how did you do that? Because first of all, I'm so sorry that you went through that. It's kind of to get to that stage, in your life, 54 years old, when you've devoted that much time to the corporate world. That must have felt, it must have felt sort of awful. It must have felt like a real rejection and victimization in a way. And
Yes, it did actually. I can only describe it as, having worked and been very, very successful, having had a global HR director role, having enjoyed very, very good experience and working relationships with so many people. I was literally felt I had been put on the scrap heap. And if I take us back a little bit further, I can only describe what I can experience the most difficult and toxic environment, where as a young single mom at the time, I was bullied for several years. So I really, really had to dig deep in my, to my own sort of strength and resilience, etc., to be able to work through that. And what I was actually able to do last year when I was made redundant was I decided I'm not going to be the victim. And I was able to look back on not anybody else's experience, but my own experience in terms of how did I survive a very, very tough environment when I was bringing up my daughter Grace, and I had the woman from hell as a boss. And how did I get through that? And then start to apply some of those skills and strengths that I was able to identify through this period and use them to my advantage last year. And that's what really got me through in a very, very quick period of time to actually say, no, I am no longer the victim here. I am a strong woman. I have a lot to offer people, and I'm going to make a difference. And that's how I got through that period without too much feeling sorry for myself.
And I'm really interested because I know I've had other guests on Victorious FM where they've talked about corporate workplace bullying, and I'm just kind of interested in, you know, because it must have been horrible to go through that, but you obviously stayed there, and obviously I can understand because you're a single parent, so you needed to keep a secure roof over your family's head. But at that point, did you feel like, you know, that there was something else more that you were supposed to be doing, or have any aspirations to start your own business at that stage?
I would say the aspirations to start my own business came a little bit later. I'll be honest, Michelle, I was very burnt out for several years, but didn't actually recognize what I had gone through. And it was really as I started to think about what am I going to do with my life. I took 6 weeks off last summer and really just took that time to recharge. Yeah. And and I started to think about the things that I really like to do and love to do. I actually made a list. I'm not a list person, but actually lists have become my best friend recently. And I made a list of all the things that I'm doing, that I like doing, that I enjoy doing, and all the things that I'm not doing or not enjoying doing. And I actually found that I was spending far too much time on depleting activities or activities that I wasn't actually enjoying. And I thought about all the things that I love to do, whether it's I'm a keen cyclist, I'm a mountaineer, keen skier, and yoga practitioner. And I actually thought, hang on a sec here, I've got a lot in my kit bag. And as I went through that journey, I thought, I actually need to be more in the wellness industry, and I embarked on setting up my own business, particularly geared towards helping other and typically females, but not exclusively, through difficult periods in their lives, and that's where I started. And as I've embarked on that, I have become absolutely more convinced than ever that this is my calling. And I get up in the morning with such enthusiasm. I'm probably painful for the people who live with me, but I am full of enthusiasm, and full of new ideas to help me grow my business. And it's just been life-changing for me.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think, you talked about creating a list, and again, I speak to lots of people on Victorious FM about the power of journaling and actually, writing things down. And I think that is so powerful, because otherwise everything's stuck in your head. You kind of, always get stuck inside yourself. So did you, when you went through that process of writing down sort of, like you say, the things that you actually enjoy doing, the things that you're good at, I mean, it must have felt very empowering. And what I love is the fact that, you're now doing something that you actually love and you feel passionate about, which is something that I feel very strongly about, because, having gone through, I'm basically a brain injury survivor. I had a brain hemorrhage. So, which is something that not many people survive. So for me, I really want to get that message out that life is too short to be stuck in a job that you hate. And we all have this unique ability and potential, I think, to create what we want out of our lives. So what stages have you gone through now then, from obviously you, as you said, you got made redundant from that job, you identified what it is that you wanted to do. What are the steps that you've gone through in starting off on this entrepreneurial journey, and what are some of the biggest challenges that you've gone through so far in that journey?
Okay, and that's a great question, and sorry to hear about your background, but congratulations for coming through that as well. If I reflect on some of the things that were very, very important to me as I was working through corporate America, one of the things I would describe is around validation. Mm-hmm. Where am I getting my energy from, and how do I know that I'm doing a good job? How do I know I'm on the right path? And actually, I've actually started to write about validation because it's absolutely critical. When you're working on your own, whether it's an entrepreneur or whether it's a freelancer, whatever it happens to be, you need to know you're doing a good job. You need to know you're on the right path. And where are you going to get that when you come out of the corporate world from, employment, let's say, and people are no longer knocking on your door, or you're no longer getting your bonuses or your stock or whatever it happens to be that kind of demonstrate you're doing a good job. You're not getting your annual appraisals and your weekly feedback sessions, etc. You need to know in your heart and soul that you're on the right path. You need to know that you are doing the right job. And for me, this was about working to my values, so being very, very clear about what's important to me. Mm-hmm. Am I making a difference to people's lives? Am I, feeling fulfilled and I'm happy doing what I'm doing? And that's where the validation came from me in this new world, when I'm not getting it from an external source. So it's really critical to have that internal validation. Yes, I'm on the right path. Yes, I'm doing the right things. Yes, I'm making a difference. And that to me has been a huge learning.
And I think I totally resonate with this, because I think that as we go through life, we start to realise that, we're here, I think, because we really do want to make a difference. We want to have an impact on other people's lives. And, I think maybe when we're younger, we're perhaps more materialistic, we're looking at the money and things like that. But I know when I first started my entrepreneurial journey, I was in a corporate IT job, and it felt like my soul was dying from the inside. And I had that feeling kind of back then that I don't want to look back on my life and I have only done something for the money. I actually want to do something that I feel really passionate about, and that that I feel is really going to make a difference in the world and in other people's lives. Mm-hmm. So, and it sounds like obviously with what you're doing now, obviously is exactly that, which is so rewarding. So can you tell us a little bit now about, your exciting business, what you're doing, and, and how that's helping other people?
Absolutely, I will do. Now, I just want to say that you really do speak my language. When I'm hearing you speak, I think, wow, that is me. I just can't spend the rest of my life doing this. And I had the option of going back and continuing with that on that journey. But now it's my turn. Okay, I've brought up my daughter. I've helped to bring up my stepchildren, etc., with my new husband, sort of new, and now it's my turn.
Yeah.
So I had to go through a period of reinventing myself and figuring out who I am, not the mom, not the wife, but as a businesswoman, but in a new context, and that was really, really important. So I set about embarking on my new business, all in the wellness arena. And whilst I am a yoga teacher and I'm a mindfulness coach, for me it is about wellness in the more holistic sense. So helping people, so whether it's a business to business or business to a private client, is for me to help a number of people get through periods of adversity in their lives, but also enjoy a much happier, healthier, more fulfilled life. So as an example, whilst I am a yoga teacher and a mindfulness coach, I have been a chronic insomniac, so I have actually devised a sleep clinic. That to help people get over that hurdle of, sleep is critical. You read so much about you need to get X number of hours sleep a night, but how? How do I retrain myself? So again, if I think about the, being resilient in times of adversity, etc., it's helping people in wellness in that wider sense, so they feel much more happy, much more fulfilled, and they've got a healthier lifestyle as well. And as an example, I'm now writing, it'll be an ebook, one of my first publications, is to share all the things that I've learned on my personal journey as I went through that transition. So whether it's about my personal branding, it's about how do I start my own business, whether it's a portfolio business or a single product, how am I taking that to market, etc. So as I'm growing, as I go forward, I want to share that so I can help other people too.
I love that. Yeah.
So it's a real end-to-end. So whilst my yoga and the mindfulness may be a vehicle, let's say, to get me to market, it's helping me have much different conversations with people. So we may end up talking about sleep. We may end up talking about stuck in a rut at home. I may be talking to people about I just want something more for me. So the yoga and mindfulness, as an example, just gives me that platform on which I can move forward to some of those really helpful conversations.
Yeah, and I think it's so important, obviously everybody on my show, it's all female entrepreneurs, businesswomen, but I think, having been in business for 18 years now, I had a period in my life where I wasn't really looking after myself, because I was a single parent running a business. I was pretty much working 24/7. And it wasn't because I felt stressed or anything. I absolutely love being a businesswoman. I would wake up excited in the morning to do the things I had to do to grow my business. And, and it was like my baby. But I think after suffering what I've suffered, 3 years ago, I realised that, we have to have a much more holistic approach to business and life, because our business is obviously a part of us, but we start a business because we want a particular type of lifestyle. We want sort of freedom and flexibility, and we want to make a difference in the world. And if we don't look after ourselves, then we're not going to be successful in business. And that's why I love what you're doing, because the tagline of Victorious Entrepreneurs is for women who are victorious in life and in business. So I love speaking to people like yourself, where you're really promoting that sort of health and well-being, because obviously it's so vital. And I just want to touch on something, because you mentioned about the fact that you felt like there was more. You wanted to be more than a mum and a wife, and that you needed to reinvent yourself as this businesswoman. But again, that really resonated with me, because again, I think there's so many women, because we go through seasons of our life, don't we? We have our early days, and we may become a mother, get married, become a mother. Children go through their different stages, and I think particularly as mums, once they get a little bit older or they fly the nest, I think that is a time where some women can feel a little bit lost, that they feel like, well, okay, my job there is done. What about me now? What's next? What next? What's my new purpose? And so I think it's really inspiring to have women like yourself and me. And I can say this because I'm sort of 51. You say that you were put on the corporate scrap heap at age 54, and I think it's really inspiring to let women know that you can reinvent yourself and start a business at any age. I think there's this perception that I'm too old, it's too late, but I think there's a quote, isn't there, that you're never too old to set a new goal or dream a new dream. So
dream a new dream. I love it.
Yeah, and I don't know who that quote's from, but it's one of my favorite dreams. So I really love what you're doing. Can I ask, going back to some of the adversities that you have faced, I mean, what lessons have you learned from those, and how have they actually helped you on your entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, they're great questions. So if I think of some of the tough challenges in my lifetime, that I always look at them as life lessons rather than things to drag me down. So you may get stuck in. Now, one of the things I would absolutely say, and as you pointed out, Michelle, as well, is running your own business, or even if you're in employment, so whether it's a senior role or an individual role, it doesn't really matter. But what I learned, and I did not recognize this at the time, was fantastic that you're getting the plaudits, you get the accolades, you get the bonuses, etc., etc. But what was critical for me, and I did not recognize this, is not to allow yourself to burn out. And I reached that point and I didn't recognize it for what it was at the time. And it was really only as I started to embark on my new world that I thought, wow, it took me many months, and it's not all gone yet, but it took me many months to really let go of that period of, giving 110% all the time, all day, every day, and leaving nothing for yourself. You just can't continue in that way. And recognizing what the symptoms or the signals of burnout are have been really helpful for me. I didn't see them at the time. I wouldn't have recognized them, or I wouldn't have agreed with it at the time, because I was working so hard and feeling like I was doing a brilliant job, but actually looking back on it, I was spent. I didn't realize how spent I was. And now it's much more about, yes, doing what you love, yes, build your business, absolutely help other people, but I have to help myself first.
Yeah,
I have to look after me, and if I don't look after me, I can't help anybody else.
Yeah.
And when I look back now, I think, wow, I left nothing for myself. There was nothing left in the tank over a period of time. And now it's about, I can't give if I can't help myself first.
And I think that's such an important message to get out there, because I think it's something that affects so many women. And I think particularly if we are mums and we're trying to juggle everything, particularly if we're single parents as well, as you and I have been. And, certainly, I can when you're speaking, I recognize this in myself at different periods throughout my life where I had nothing in the tank. I was literally, working 24/7 and juggling being a mum and all of the jobs and demands that come with that. But you said that you kind of would now recognize the signals of burnout. So, what would you say they are, just, in case there's anyone listening that perhaps is going through that but isn't recognizing it?
Well, I would absolutely say, and I would define it as spending all of the time and energy on stuff that's depleting you, and very little or no time on the stuff that nourishes you. So as I mentioned, I'm keen cyclist and a mountaineer and so on, but there was a period there, Michelle, where I was doing none of that. And I didn't recognize, but I was talking to a friend recently, and I said, I'm a keen gardener as well, very amateur, but I love it. And I was in my garden on a sunny day, and I recognized I wasn't feeling anything. I was feeling absolutely nothing, no joy, no sadness, no anger, no happiness, nothing. I felt empty. And that for me was a very worrying feeling, because I thought to myself, they're the symptoms of depression. And it was at that point I recognized that I wasn't doing the stuff that I love. And even if I did get out on my bike, it was, I need to do this. It was almost a chore. Yeah. And I actually, recognizing that I wasn't getting any enjoyment out of stuff, and I'm a full of joie de vivre type of person. I'm a real kind of enthusiastic person, but to sit there and feel nothing was very, very worrying. And that's when I actually started to look at, what am I filling my time with? Yeah. What am I enjoying doing? And actually since then, with that learning, I've actually published an article on LinkedIn around burnout. And typically stress in the workplace as well. So I wrote that with a view of helping other people identify with it, not to get to employers, but to get to individuals and say, if you were going through this in the workplace, I was going through it in other places as well, which I can describe in more detail if you wish. But if you don't recognize it, you're in it before you know it, and then you're in trouble. So recognizing when you're going through stuff hang on a second, there's more here I need to be doing for me. I can't help others. I can't continue to function if I don't look after myself.
I think a lot of people will resonate with that, because I think that, I probably speak for a lot of women, that when you are, building a business, you're so passionate about it that you tend to put everything into it. And it's,
Absolutely.
Like I said before, I used to work, before I got ill, I literally used to work 24/7. And I used to, because my children were younger then, I would work while they were at school. I'd go, I had the freedom and flexibility that I could pick them up from school, I'd get them back, I'd do their dinner, do their homework with them, get them into bed. And I could have, had the choice that I'll do something for me, something relaxing. But no, what did I do? I'd get on my computer and do some work until like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, I didn't have a boss standing over me saying, you haven't done enough work to do. You haven't done enough work today. You need to do more work. It was a drive within me that I felt so passionately about my business that I wanted to do it. And the same thing would happen at the weekends. I would think, oh, I could go off and do this, or I could do some more work. And quite often I would choose to go and do some more work. And I know all of my family were like, oh, you're just working all the time. Now, to me, it wasn't a problem because I loved doing it. But I think it's only since I got ill that I just realised, no, that was not healthy, because they've said that my brain hemorrhage is nothing to do with, working all those long hours, because my mum, when I had a word with the neurosurgeon, and sort of grasped me up about the amount of hours that I did. But I do think that, of course, it can't be good. We need to switch off, don't we? We need to have time. And I think I recognise this more myself. I mean, I had a period a couple of weeks ago where I do suffer with this a lot because of my brain injury, cognitive fatigue, where my brain just feels like fog. And the old me would have worked through any amount of fatigue, but this is a different type of fatigue where I have no choice. I literally have to come away. But so it's kind of done me a lot of good in a way, because just by coming away, doing what I love, which is just being outside with nature, it's just going for a long walk with my dog, being around beautiful scenery, really recharges and allows me to press that reset button. And so I'm really glad that you brought this up about burnout, because I think that some of us perhaps do go through it without realising. And I think certainly I have done that in the past. And occasionally, because I think that I've still got that ambition and drive within me, that I still sometimes find it difficult to know when to switch off from business and focus on, like you say, refilling the tank, really, isn't it? Refilling the tank.
Yeah, and it's interesting how you describe it, because when we talk about doing what we love, which is fantastic. I mean, there's no better calling in life if you can actually identify what you love doing and then go and make some money from it. Amazing. But it's stuff, when I describe it, it's about the activities that will nourish you. So they're giving yourself some downtime, giving yourself some relaxing, giving yourself to be bored, actually, sometimes helps you with creativity. Not picking up the mobile phone or the iPad to scroll, but just take time to be. And one of the things that really actually helped me on my journey, Michelle, was I remember saying to a friend, I said, I don't feel creative. And she said, oh, you should write blogs, etc., etc. And I'm going, who would want to read my blogs? I'm going, I don't have a story. And then actually I sat down one day and I wrote all day. I literally, everything just came tumbling out of me. And this is where I started on my journey about writing a book. So I'm writing a book about my personal journey, and it's going to be called something like Coming of Age. But I'm also writing my ebook, because actually I'm thinking, at my age, with my corporate experience, with my family experience, and my setting up my own business experience, I actually find writing really therapeutic. So I'm not running around at a million miles an hour, but I'm actually sitting back, I'm reflecting, and I'm just getting stuff out of my head and onto paper, as it were, usually onto my iPad or my tablet. But it's getting it out of my head and actually turning it from something I've done to an experience, and actually an experience that I think can help somebody else. And I actually find it really cathartic to do that. And so I'm not very good at just not doing stuff, but this is a great way for me to sit down. I'm working, but I'm not actually working. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're speaking my language, because I was having this conversation with somebody the other day that I think I'm the world's worst relaxer. I find it
Me too.
I find it so difficult to relax. And before I got ill, my way of relaxing, I don't know if there's an actual thing called active relaxation, but my way of relaxing before I got ill was to go on a 10-kilometer run. And that, for me, was the only thing that would relax me. And everyone was like, how can that's not relaxing, how can that relax you? But it did, because it's so relaxing. And I think, one, because again, I'm outside, I'm away from screens and computers, I'm got complete solitude, I'm running, so you've got the endorphins of running, but you're outside with nature, away from all of the noise and distractions that we have now in this busy online world. And it really allowed me to get the thoughts out of my head, and I had my best creative thinking at those moments.
Brilliant.
And I think, I'm not saying that everybody should go out and do a 10k run, because I can't do that now anyway, but there's always something, isn't there, something that
absolutely
people really need to find their thing. You've talked about yoga, and that's something that I've recently started a little bit, because I had a back problem last year, and I want to get into it much more, because I think, again, that's such a good way, well, obviously health benefits with all of the stretching,
absolutely,
but the relaxation. So and I'm hoping that will help me to become a better relaxer. I've got hopes anyway. But do you think, because obviously you say that you would say that you're the world's worst relaxer as well, and I thought I had that accolade, but do you think that's just something to do with the fact that you've been a single parent and I've been a single parent, or do you just think that's just in you and you've always had it? Because I'm not sure with me.
I think I would, if I look back on from knee high to a grasshopper, as they say, I've always been a busy girl. I've always been active, and always, so whether it's coming up with new things to do, or fun things to do, mischievous things to do, I was always that kid. And then as I went through school, I actually, as I look back, and I think I was probably a bit of a people pleaser, so I was always there trying to be the funniest, or trying to be the most chatty, or whatever it happened to be. And even as I got older and I discovered my bike riding, my mountaineering, etc., always active, always had to be doing stuff. And actually, as I look back, and I think this last year almost has probably been the most enlightening 9 months that I've ever spent to actually really get to know me and what I'm about. So actually taking time, not whether it's cycling or whatever, but not to just be busy for busy's sake, not to, the zombie scrolling that we're all, more than capable of doing online, etc. But actually taking time to be, but to be you as the person, or in my case, to be me, and actually think about, what am I about? And I had a real aha moment recently where I was, when I was doing my mindfulness qualification, and I had a week-long sort of retreat and mindfulness learning week. And I actually really couldn't believe how much I enjoyed quiet time. So there was no phones, no iPads, no computers, and we had silent dinners, we had silent breakfasts, we went out for silent walks, and I sat back and I thought, wow, I love this. And what I discovered was, by taking that quiet time, I discovered an awful lot about myself, about how, looking back, I was a pleaser, I was a gap filler, and actually me today, how much I love my quiet time, how much I love my space to think or to create or to just be. And that's where some of my best ideas have come from. And I thought, how did I never know this about myself? Because I've always been too busy.
Yes.
Too busy doing.
Yes.
now I'm really appreciating my me time, my creativity time, my silent time, and that's where my ideas bubble up. So if I could give anybody a piece of advice, is don't rush in. Obviously, you want to build your business and you need to start making some money, etc., start making a difference. But it's actually take time for that creativity to bubble up, because the ideas are in there.
Yeah.
And finding out how you tick as a person is so important as you start to build your brand and as you start to be your authentic self in your business. Totally critical.
And I think that's so important, because I think sometimes, you can get so busy doing, but you're not necessarily doing in the right direction. So
exactly.
Yeah. And I'm sure I've been guilty of that, and I'm sure that many people have, and so it is important.
Myself included.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're so stuck in your deadlines, and I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and then when you actually take the time to to come away from it, and then you get that creative thinking, and then you realise that, okay, that's not really the direction that I should be going with this, and this is a far better direction. But if you'd taken that time out in the first place, you'd have got the answers a lot quicker, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. And taking that time to just sit back, whatever that sitting back is. And you love your running, I love my bike riding, and I love being in the mountains and so on. It's actually where I feel sometimes my best self, that the ideas come up. And I'm able to look back and recognize mistakes, and then go, okay, actually that was a mistake, I don't need to do that again, that didn't actually give me the outcome I wanted.
Yeah.
But you need that reflection time, and I think in this busy world, we're all busy just being busy.
Yeah.
And it stops us actually taking time back to reflect, and reflection gives you learning. So whatever it happens to be, there is a life lesson or a business lesson in every experience that you encounter. And it's really taking the time to think, what did I get from that? What did I learn from it?
Yeah.
Did I learn something about me, or did I learn something about the way I'm marketing my business, or the way my brand is coming across? Whatever it happens to be, you need reflection time.
Yeah, and I love that. And so if we've got somebody listening that is an active doer, let's call them that, an active doer that finds it difficult to make that time for themselves, how do you do that? Do you because I'm somebody that tries to do time blocking, because I am very easily, and this is more since my brain hemorrhage, I'm so easily distracted. I suffer with attention and concentration. Literally I'm so easily distracted, so I have to be very strict with myself, and I try to time block so that I break my days up. So for instance, Monday afternoons is my podcast day. That's when I do my podcast interviews. And then, Tuesday I'm at brain injury rehab, but Wednesday mornings I try to write my blog articles. And then again, but first thing in the morning, before I do anything, I set my alarm for 6:30, and I make sure that I go out and I do try to walk 4 miles with my dog. So I kind of start the
Fantastic.
day. Yeah, I try and start the day with what I love doing most, going out for a walk, being at one with nature, being with my dog, and then I find then that, one, it gives me gratitude, because I feel like to be out, because I love nature so much, I can't go out for a walk and not feel grateful to be alive. And
absolutely.
Well, so it starts me off with gratitude, starts me off with exercise, which I think is so important, that we have healthy mind and healthy body. So I'm getting my exercise, but also it's giving me that real that quiet time, because I don't like to listen to music or anything while I'm out there. I just like it to be peaceful and quiet, and that's the time where I get my creative thinking. So this, again, like I say, is time blocking. I do that in the morning, and then I've got certain blocks that I do certain things. So I reserve things that are going to take a lot of energy or concentration for me. I tend to do in the morning, because I have far less energy. in the afternoon. So then I tend to do the things that don't take so much brain power later on. And then I try, although I am failing at this at the moment, I try to then again do something else for me later on, either another walk. I was going to start doing some yoga. I'm failing at that. I kind of probably need to go to a class, because if I'm left to my own devices, then I'll kind of end up doing
it won't happen. Yeah.
But my question to you is, what's your strategy for ensuring that you have got a good mix of looking after your business, focusing on your business, and making sure that you've got the time for your own health and well-being?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and thank you for sharing your story, because it's quite fascinating, the period of change that you've gone through. I guess I describe it as I get up earlier than I need to. So I start my day every day as if I'm going to work. So, I mean, I could easily, and I don't do this, I could easily kind of take a little lie in every day and, relax, chill out. But actually, I find that I have more energy for the day if I'm up early. And I do my 10-15 minutes of mindfulness in the morning. Some mornings, not every morning, I do gentle yoga stretches and so on. But I'm better at my yoga whenever I want to take some time. That's absolutely fine. But for me, it's getting up earlier than I need to, starting the day with mindfulness and quiet time. I kneel on my mat, basically, or I sit cross-legged on my mat, and just basically let the day come, and then just not go straight to my digital media and so on first thing in the morning. So just take that quiet time for the first hour of the day to kind of wake up gently and get into the day. I typically will set my goals either at the beginning of the week, or I may say, well, I've achieved this today, but tomorrow I need to do X, Y, and Z. And having those goals defined are really, really helpful for me. And if I find I haven't set my goals, I'm a little bit more fluid. And sometimes actually fluid is okay, depending on what you need to achieve. But I spend a bit of time every day on my yoga mat doing some private yoga practice. And obviously I do my public classes as well, so it's important that I have those mapped out and planned for, etc. And I spend a lot of time working on the personal brand, or doing my writing, which is ultimately something that I want to get out there to the general public at some point this year. So I've got to be quite structured. Now, I actually suffered with some of the things you actually talk about, which as a result of your brain hemorrhage. But actually, I suffered from mental cognition, and the ability to concentrate, etc., were really actual symptoms of my burnout. So for me, I don't have that issue today as I had, and I wondered what it was. But again, as I reflect, I'm thinking that was a byproduct of burnout. So today, as long as I have my goals set out at the beginning of my day, I am a very productive person. There are days where if I haven't set them, I may not achieve as many things as I want to achieve. But sometimes actually that's okay too. And I think it's important to be kind to yourself. So you don't have to drive yourself into the road or into the ground every day, 24/7 or even 10/7, because actually taking some time to just be is important. And that's where some of my creativity comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that a lot of us female entrepreneurs, we almost run our businesses like it's a sprint, but it's a marathon. And again, I've been
absolutely.
I've been so guilty of this, and it's like I've got to get this done now. Tomorrow's no good, it's got to be done now. But it is, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and I think we all need to remind ourselves of that. And actually, I know when I've taken the time out for me, I've been so much more productive. So otherwise literally everything's stuck in your head. You're more likely to suffer with burnout, but also some of those cognitive issues that I suffer with, but I know everybody can suffer with it to different
times.
At different times. Exactly. I wanted to ask you as well, obviously starting your own business and being in a corporate job is entirely different, because when you're when you're working for somebody else and you've got a whole, corporation to support you, you've got an IT department and you've got an HR department, you've got all these different departments to support you in different things. What's been the biggest challenges for you in sort of starting your business, the biggest learnings, if you like, in going from the corporate world to being an entrepreneur?
Great question. And actually, as I'm putting my ebook together, and getting the content together for that, it actually really helped me to think about where my lessons learned were. What did I have in the kit bag, or what did I need to acquire, etc.
Yeah.
And I'm not hugely IT savvy. Haven't kind of learned it later in life, as opposed to growing up with it from, again, when you're tiny and it's just there with our kids. So not being hugely IT savvy, probably could be a drawback at times. But for me, the real critical pieces in my journey were around being very, very clear in terms of what I'm about and what's my sort of personal branding and how do I come across, etc., etc. An area that probably wouldn't have been fantastic for me were about marketing and sales. How do I get my message out there? How do I get to the right audience and talk to them in a language they understand, and in a way that they either invite me back for a second conversation, or they're actually going to say, well, actually, she's a person I want to do business with in the future. So it's actually been really, really targeted in my in how I go to market in that respect. So using, as an example, there's great tools out there today. So whether you're using Facebook for business, or whether you're using Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, or a mixture of all of them, those tools are there for you to use to get a message out to many. But in my case, because I'm B2B as well as B2C, it was important for me to actually use the right media that worked for me to get to individuals, to be able to help them and speak their language with them. As I think about, let's say the woman whose kids have grown up and fled the nest or about to go, I wouldn't get to that person through Facebook necessarily. I might not get to that person through LinkedIn. So face-to-face networking or, over the phone, very, very critical for me to be able to reach the right audience with the right message in a way that works for them. So it's really very important for me to get outside of my comfort zone and actually talk to many more people in that way. I wouldn't necessarily draw people into my yoga classes, as an example, just through LinkedIn or through Facebook. It's actually getting out there and talking to people about their health issues, talking to people about whether it's mental health or physical health, getting out there and talking to them and understanding that. If I'm growing my, to build up my wellness business per se, I've got to get out there and talk to many people. I'll use Facebook for business as an example. So that's a way to get out to more people. Writing my book is absolutely a big piece for me, and getting some of my life lessons out there and getting that out to many people, but also sharing my ebook. For me, I would never have thought about an ebook before, but again, this is a thing that's developed up through my networking. And now writing my first ebook, I'm going to get that out there in the next few weeks so that I can help other people. And that in itself draws people towards me. Does that make sense?
It makes absolutely sense. And I think what I'm interested in knowing, because this is, I know, something that holds many people back from even starting in business, is that they think, well, who am I to start a business? I don't know anything about running a business. I don't know about marketing. I don't know about branding. I don't know how to get my name out there. I don't even know what my message would be or who my ideal customer is. So, and those are the things, obviously, that you have had to learn, and we've all had to learn. And when I'm speaking to women that have got aspirations to start a business and they're full of all of this fear and self-doubt, I say, you're no different to anybody else. Nobody that ever started a business knew anything about starting a business in the first place. We're all the same. We all have to start somewhere, and it's like it's a constant sort of journey or process of evolution, isn't it? You learn things as you go along. You make mistakes and you learn from those mistakes. And personally, that's what I love about entrepreneurship, because I feel that from my point of view, after I went through my divorce, and I was in a long marriage, I was left with so little self-confidence, because it kind of, when you go through something like that, you kind of tend, and I think also being a mum, going through a marriage breakup, you kind of lose your sense of identity and who you are. And it's actually my entrepreneurial journey, I think, that's kind of given me that back and allowed me to discover who I am and what I'm capable of. And do you feel the same about your own entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, absolutely. I've had moments of doubt. Not every day. I'd say probably I get a day. I wake up in the morning thinking, my word, what's this all about? How am I going to? Who's going to believe me? Who's going to think? How do I have the right to do this? What gives me the right? And then typically when I have those days, I wake up that way. Michelle, those are some of my best days. I kick myself in the backside, and I get up and I come down to my office and I start my work, because I just think, no, I have, the limiting self-beliefs like everybody else does. I'm sure you've had them. Everybody has them at some point, thinking, what gives me the right? And actually, I had the great fortune of talking to a lady who I really respect her, actually. And she actually helped me turn that into something about my values. Because she said, for you, she said, it seems to be really, really important that you come across as authentic, and that you come across as real, that you want people to believe you and buy into you because you are experienced, you've got a story to tell, a message to put across, whatever it happens to be, or you're creating a product, whatever. But it was important for me to feel real, that people bought it into me. And that actually is very much part of my value. So I think it's a necessary part of what we go through, but I think it's quickly turning it into a business lesson or a life lesson, and then say, okay, recognize it, tip your hat to it, and then move on. Not to dwell in it too much, because if you dwell in it too much navel gazing, you won't move your business forward.
But I think, how do you, because like you say, everybody has some kind of self-doubt, fears.
Oh, absolutely.
I've certainly had them a lot, and it doesn't really matter where you are in business. I've spoken to really successful female entrepreneurs that have built 6-figure and 7-figure businesses, but they say they still have the same fear and self-doubt, because as you go to the next stage, you still question whether you're capable of getting to that new level. But how, and I think mindset is so important in business, because you can have you can have all the strategy, can't you? But if your mind is in the wrong place, then it can stop you from even doing anything. I think fear holds so many of us back. So do you have any daily rituals, success habits, affirmations, or anything that you use that help you to overcome the fear, the limiting beliefs, and actually just go for it?
Well, I think as I mentioned to you, there's days where I do get up in the morning and I'm thinking, I'm not going to get through this. It's not going to happen. And there's a couple of times I actually started to apply for old jobs, I'd say new jobs in my old world. I'm going, no, hang on a moment. So mindset, as you mentioned, is an absolutely critical one, because recognizing you're going to have days, you're going to have periods of doubt. And I actually think, and I touched on it earlier, is around the resilience actually in terms of getting over, the feeling of loneliness, or feeling isolated, or feeling like, how am I ever going to get this going? Those doubts are going to come. You're going to have days and moments and times where you're not going to feel this is ever going to happen. It's absolutely critical. And how I work that is in those mornings when those moments happen, that's when I get up and, I really have to give myself an emotional or a mental kick, yes, to get going. And I always go back to my why. Why am I doing this? What do I want to achieve? And why do I think I can make a difference? Or why am I doing this? Where am I going with it? And I always go back to my why. And I think that's absolutely critical, because that's the one that would probably get you over when you have a reason to get up in the morning, when you have a reason to drive your business forward. That will get you back. That one will get you back. And that's mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that, because I'm trying, as I'm interviewing all of these amazing female entrepreneurs such as yourself on Victorious FM, I'm really trying to uncover, what are the characteristics and what are the steps of, going from victim to victorious entrepreneur. And, vision, your why, is so important. Why you're doing
absolutely.
You've got to have the passion for what you're doing. And I always ask on the show as well if there's any kind of books or podcasts or anything that has really inspired you. And one of the books that I read years and years ago was Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And
I've got that one. Yes.
It's amazing. And it's a bit of a hefty book for me to read now, sort of after what I've been through, but I still listen to it on Audible, and particularly if I am having moments of self-doubt, and it really gets me in the right mindset. And of course, Napoleon Hill talks about the importance of having a burning desire, passion, and again, it's all about your why, isn't it?
Absolutely.
All about your why.
Absolutely.
So on that note then about, are there any books or podcasts or anything that has really helped you on your entrepreneurial journey to keep you in that right mindset and sort of focused on your entrepreneurial dreams?
Well, it's interesting. I've actually tapped into one that's much, much closer to home for me. And it's actually a young man that grew up in the same place as I grew up, who went through, he had a major breakdown. And he basically was like me, quite sporty, and actually started out having gym classes on the beach. And he started very, very small, but that actually gave him that sort of gave him the hook, let's say, to have different conversations with different people. So me having my yoga and my mindfulness, etc., is a lever or a hook to get talking to many more people. And anyway, this young man, Pat Dively is his name. He wrote a book about upgrading your life. And if there's chunky reads out there which are great, and you may get a couple of life lessons and business lessons in there, but somebody like Pat Dively, Upgrade Your Life, is actually so much more close to home. So many of the messages resonated with me that I absolutely loved it. I just thought fantastic. Now he's giving you all sorts of tips and tools and pointers and etc., but ultimately he grew from nothing. And there's a real live example. So if somebody wants to get, local inspiration, is look for the people who really made a difference in their lives or in many other people's lives, and how did he or she do it. And I think that's fantastic. So somebody like that, Upgrade Your Life, for me is fantastic, because when I read, I'm a voracious reader, some will resonate with me more than others. And something like this is, if you are kind of on the ground looking up and you don't feel that there's a way forward, something like this is a great place to start, because it's going from 0 to 100 in a very, very short space of time.
And I love that, because it makes you realise that what's possible for somebody else is possible for all of us, isn't it? And I think
absolutely,
again, a lot of it is about connecting with your why, your mission, your vision, and really taking inspired action towards your dreams, really having the goals and going
absolutely.
For it, and believing that it's possible. Because of course, if you don't believe it's possible, I think again There's another saying, isn't there? I think it's Henry Ford, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right.
You're right.
Yeah. And again,
absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. I love that quote because it's so true, I think.
But I would suggest, you know, as I sit here and you talk about it, if you believe you've got something that can make a difference, you're doing something you love, but it can make a difference to many other people, improve the quality of their lives, or whatever happens to be, is find out what their why is as well. Okay, so your target audience, define who your target audience is, what is their why, and you can wrap your messaging around that, and you have your hook. Because you've got your why, you've got their why, then you're absolutely on a roll.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. Well, I literally could speak to you all day. I found you fascinating.
Thank you, Michelle.
I really have. I just want one final question, just to kind of wrap the show up, is, you know, if you could go back and give your younger self a really good piece of advice, what would that be?
if I was ever able to take that advice, take some advice.
Yes, I know what you mean.
don't think you have all the answers yourself. I would actually say is use the power of your network. Okay, so there's all sorts of people around you who you can learn from. Is actually be a learner. Yeah. Actually to ask questions, listen to people, and actually take some stuff away from it. And you can do that today through the power of the network. Yeah. And that for me has been huge.
I think it's so powerful because we can't build our businesses in isolation. I don't think. I tried to do it for a long time, but you're just you're just making life difficult for yourself, aren't you? Because you know, you can't know everything. You have to learn from other people, and you're going to learn a lot quicker as well. And also stop making some of the mistakes that you don't need to make. So I love that, and it's just so important.
Yeah. And turn those mistakes into life lessons, and you're very powerful.
Oh yeah.
But if you ruminate on them, they will hold you back.
Absolutely, and I think that's again, I think is one of the characteristics that's so important from, becoming a victorious entrepreneur. You know, a woman who is victorious in business in life is, one, having the resilience and the courage to sort of, do something despite any fears that you have, but also to recognise that, you can learn from your mistakes. Don't see them as setbacks or obstacles or whatever. They're so powerful. I probably learned more from my mistakes than anything else.
Absolutely. And it's just taking that time, as I talked about, reflection time is absolutely critical, to look at your mistakes and think, what did I learn? And then move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, Caroline, on Victorious FM. And if people want to connect with you and find out more about you, how can they do that?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Facebook. Website is coming soon, and so I'm building that as we speak, and I'm learning on the go. And they would be great places to connect.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I will make sure that we've got links to all of your social media channels over on the show notes, and also on the Victorious Entrepreneurs website. But
fantastic.
Once again, thank you so much. I've absolutely loved talking to you. I found everything that you said fascinating, really resonated with me, and I know that it will with so many other women as well. So thank you, and I will connect with you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you, Misha. Great to talk to you. Bye now.
And to you, our wonderful Victorious FM listeners, I hope you've enjoyed this interview as much as I have. Don't forget, if you want to find out more about Caroline, please either check out the show notes or head over to victoriousentrepreneurs.com, where all of our podcast guests are featured on our website. Please also check out all of our amazing free resources to help you through each stage of starting, launching and growing your business. And don't forget to subscribe to Victorious FM on iTunes or Stitcher to make sure that you don't miss out on another inspiring episode. And finally, please come over and join our free community, Victorious Female Entrepreneurs, over on Facebook. I look forward to seeing you in the group, but until next week, stay victorious.
listening to Victorious FM. Victorious Entrepreneurs, for women who are victorious in business and in life.